Good morning, everybody. Today is week 3 of our garden tours, and it is May 15th, 2026, and I have been working so hard in the garden all week long. I'm trying to get the entire garden planted by the end of the day today. I don't have a whole lot left to do, so I think I might be able to do it. And the reason I'm pushing so hard is because we are expecting yet another 2 to 3 inches of rain over the next several days starting Sunday. And I want to have everything in. Now, I planted out my trellis on Sunday, so that is doing really good. Some of the seeds that I direct sowed are starting to germinate. My leggy cucumbers are looking a little better. This year with my daughter, I did not have really any space to do indoor seed starting other than my kitchen countertop, which I don't have a lot of space in my kitchen anyways. I have an alley style kitchen, and it's tiny. So I have a little corner that I started a bunch of seeds just to keep it out of reach of my daughter, because she gets into everything. And so normally in the past I've had shelving that I have grow lights on, and that has worked really well. So these did not have any grow lights. They're some of the most pathetic seedlings I've ever grown. But you know, you just do the best you can. So they've been hardening off all week. Got my cucumbers in the ground. They actually survived. I'm kind of shocked. But I'm gonna flip the camera around and we're gonna just kind of go through the garden and show you. Now, I haven't cleaned up all of my messes, so there's a lot of stuff just sitting around. But that's because today I'm gonna finish everything and I'll get everything cleaned up at that point. And maybe by next week, the entire garden will be in and growing, and it'll be so fun to watch. So I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you the garden. Oh, and I wanted to show you my string lights on my trellis. It's too light outside right now, but maybe I can film a little bit of the twinkle lights at night sometime for you. So we're gonna start in a little bit different spot today. We're gonna start down in the tomato rows. The reason for that, I normally start the tour down there on the west end of the garden, but my daughter's bedroom window is right above that, and it is only 5:50 in the morning, and she's asleep, and I don't want to wake her up because my husband is also asleep. He's been working so incredibly hard in the alfalfa fields for the last several days, and he's exhausted. So I don't want to wake her up and then in turn force him to get up to take care of her while I'm out here. So we're going to start down here, and I'm going to flip the camera around and show you some of what I did in the tomato rows. I did so much work out here, like 9 straight hours out here yesterday. So a lot has been done. And yes, it does take that long when you have a garden this size. There's no way I could have gardened in this size of a garden when I had a full-time job outside of the home. It's hard enough being home all the time with 2 small kids running around and homeschooling and trying to help my husband on the farm. It's so hard to keep up with everything. But I'm really happy with how I've been able to accomplish that so far this year. First, let's just take a moment for the sunrise. It's not the prettiest sunrise we've had, but every sunrise is beautiful in its own way. Okay, I'm gonna start here. So this is some hyssop, false indigo, coneflower, and more hyssop. My mom's best friend gifted these to me in 2024. That was the first full spring season that I gardened at this property, and she gifted those to me, and they are doing so well. I was able to get some straw mulch out here, which really helps to distinguish them from the grass for a couple of reasons. It looks nicer, it helps keep the weeds down, and also it helps my husband have a clear line on how close he can get with the mower. He really likes to have clear, definitive lines because he is not a gardener, and to him, he's like, I'm just gonna mow. So if you have stuff out there, you have to mark it. So that's why I have these stakes as well, because in the wintertime or early spring when these haven't fully come up, that kind of reminds him that this area is here. So as you can see, I have started cleaning off all of these rows. I have just a little bit of this one to finish down there at the end, and then there's one more right here that I have to uncover and of course go through and weed and I've been trying to pick out some of the weeds here. Some of them are a little bit too hard, so it'll have to happen when I dig the hole. But it is starting to come together. It has been a lot of work. This was a very overgrown, weeded mess last year because with a new baby, I just wasn't able to keep up with it. And these were my tomato rows last year. I had 3 rows of tomatoes, and anybody who has grown 100+ tomatoes knows that it can become a jungle very quickly, and that's exactly what this area looked like. You see that? Little coyote running across the, I think it's a coyote. I can't tell from here. That'd be a really big raccoon if it was a raccoon. I think it's a coyote. It's down in the waterway over across the road in that field. So this is the plan for today. Finish this out so that I can put, these are gonna be a row of zucchini, another row of zucchini, different summer squashes and zucchini, and then 2 rows of okra. So all 4 of these rows will be direct seeded, but I can't do any of that until I get all of this grass and weeds taken care of. So that is the agenda for today. If I can get that done, I'll try to plant my peppers. But this is one of the tomato rows. So this is my paste style tomato row, and I've got 10 San Marzanos. And you can see I've transplanted them out. My tomatoes actually look pretty good. I start them in a cold frame outside, and they do so much better that way. But I can't start all of my seeds in that cold frame because it's not big enough. I did utilize some winter sowing, and that does usually do a really good job. This year our weather was so wacky that my winter sowing didn't do very good. So that's why I did a bunch of indoor seed starting on the kitchen counter, and those seedlings are just honestly pretty weak and pathetic. I showed a couple pictures of them sitting out on the picnic table hardening off in my Friday video. So if you haven't seen that, go back. It's just the video right before this one. And they're okay. They're pretty weak. So I don't know how many of them are going to survive, but none of that stuff is like critical stuff. All my critical stuff is fine. So anyways, the tomatoes, I got 10 San Marzanos here. And I have 11 more holes in this row to complete the second row of tomatoes. So if my mother-in-law has some more paste style tomatoes, I don't think she has San Marzanos, but I think she has alpacas. I'm gonna see if she has any extra that she's not using. If so, I'm gonna get those planted in. If she doesn't, I'm gonna go to a greenhouse because I don't want to leave the rest of this row empty, and I need those tomatoes for canning season. So after that first row of tomatoes, we have 2 empty rows here that I have not even started cleaning up. This is the pepper area. Once I get all of the tomatoes and, well, I've already got the tomatoes. Once I get all of the zucchini and okra seeded, then I'll come back and plant my peppers. Peppers can go a little bit longer without being planted, so they'll be okay. And then this is my row of cherry tomatoes and slicers. So I have 4 sun sugars, and as you can see, I used my paint pen to mark on the plastic to keep the variety straight. And then I have 1 Isis candy, and then I have 1 cherry mix, and then I have 4 lemon boys, and then 4 Celebrity, 2 Kellogg's Breakfast, 1 Cherokee Purple, 3 Solar Flare, and then 3 Tomatillos. Now I left this hole and this hole strictly because I'm gonna have to dig that grass out with a big shovel. And so I'll probably put a couple of zinnias in there. And then all of my T-posts have already been put in the tomato rows, and that is what I will use to string up my twine for Florida weave. That's how I choose to trellis my tomatoes. I think it's what works best for me. So once the tomatoes, probably within about another week, I'll be starting that first row of Florida weave. And if you keep up with the Florida weave and you do like 1 string every week, it works really well. If you don't keep up with it, it's not the greatest, but if you can keep up with it and stay on top of that, it works really well. I'm just gonna walk up one side of my trellis. I've got some Blue Lake pole beans. The other side of the trellis is the exact same, so it's just mirror matched. I've got 2 panels of those pole beans. I have some red noodle beans, butternut squash, and of course all of this has been direct seeded. Some of them are starting to germinate, but you're not really able to tell in the video because they're just barely poking through. These were my Kajari melons that I started from seed. And then I have some Market More cucumbers, and see, my seedlings don't look that great, but they are surviving and they're starting to look better. They actually looked worse than this a few days ago. So I think they'll survive. Then of course I have Space Master and pickling. I have pickling on that side, and I only had enough Kajari for this side of this section, so the other side is more pickling cucumbers. I need to have a really good pickling year, so I have several sections out here of pickling cucumbers, and I'll show you over by the cabbages. I have a whole nother trellis of just pickling cucumbers. Okay, over here I was able to put some mulch down. As you can see, I have some marigolds starting to pop up. Right behind the marigolds, I just seeded some zinnias yesterday. In between these 2 sunflowers, I seeded a small patch of zinnias yesterday, and then right up there is a little bit as well. Last year, I just threw a bunch of seeds down here kind of on a whim, and I loved the way that that looked, so I did it again. Now, I hope I don't cuss myself for doing that already, because I haven't painted the shed yet, and I'm hoping that I have enough room to get in here and paint that shed, because I did buy the paint. And I'm hoping once everything is in the garden, that is priority, I'm hoping I'll have a couple of days where I can paint this bad boy before we go on vacation. This is a weedy mess. I don't know what this weed is, but I hate it. It's easy enough to pull, but it comes up so quickly. Then of course grass. But I have some of my red cabbage. I have a few cauliflower, and then I have my Napa cabbage, and I never got back out here to thin these out and move them after the rain had kind of pushed the seeds. So we're just going to let it go and see if it does anything. I don't need any of this stuff. I have plenty elsewhere in the garden. So if this doesn't do that great, it's not a problem. But I actually think it will do okay. And then I have several beets down here. I did come in and sow a few radish, kind of tucked them into some pockets where the beets did not germinate. And then I have carrots, which never thinned those either, but I think it'll end up being okay. This is that cold frame. Normally I have the window down, and it does have a temperature control spring release, but I have this junk sitting here blocking it open so that it just stays completely open all the time. And these are the few tomatoes that I have not yet planted, and we're gonna see. They were really little. All my other ones were quite a bit bigger. We're gonna see if they do okay, and I will find a place to plant them. So we'll just see what that looks like. And if I do find a place to plant them, if I do decide to keep those seedlings, I will let you know. But I just couldn't hardly get rid of them. They're all slicers, and I already have a full row of slicers and snacking tomatoes. So really what I should be focused on is paste, but who doesn't love a good slicer? And I have a farm store, so I can sell extras. So we'll see. We'll figure it out as time goes on. Then we have our garlic bed, and it is doing fine. The leaves look like that, I believe, because of some super inconsistent watering and a ton of rain. But they're starting to look a little less yellow at the tips, so I think they'll be just fine. My onions are doing extremely well. We're actually about to the time where I can come around here and ring the onions. That forces the onions to bulb out a little bit more at the top, so you get a bigger onion doing that. So that was my Patterson onions. Over here is my red Zeppelin. And then I have a little pocket of leek down there. Those are the taller ones. And my little pollinator perimeter garden is looking so beautiful. I've tucked in a few more things. I got some flowers from my children for Mother's Day that I've been able to tuck in here. My irises that were a gift from my mom's friend are starting to bloom. I really thought they were going to end up dying because I had some rogue chickens that kept digging them up. And they ended up doing really well, so I'm very pleased with that. I've got a daylily right there. I have some salvia, yarrow, coneflower. I have a little rose that I bought as an impulse buy, and I don't know the first thing about roses, so I'm probably not taking very good care of it, but it is there. And a beautiful lantana. Of all the annuals, lantana is probably one of my favorite bedding annual. So anyways, this is the perimeter garden. I am so thrilled with how it is looking. I've got some seedlings of some hollyhocks and zinnias starting to poke through where I had put some seeds a couple weeks ago. These are the flowers. That's bellflower, dianthus, and a coreopsis that my children got me for Mother's Day. And then let's walk through here. Actually, let's start up here. So the Napa cabbage that I put in as seed because I got that packet wet and I didn't know if they were going to do anything. I'm not going to go down the entire row, but they are starting to peek through and the straw doesn't seem to be hindering them. So that's exciting. We're going to go through here. See, this is what happened with my sprinkler head. The hose pressure. Let's see, which way does it go? I'll have to screw that in tighter later. But the water pressure busted it off because I don't think it was screwed on tight. My peas are doing wonderfully. That was also a packet that got wet and I threw in here on a whim. And I told you we need to have a good pickling year. So this entire trellis here is pickling cucumbers and they have just started to germinate. So that is super exciting. Our cabbages are looking good. I had to come down. This row here is direct seeded marigolds. I had to reseed them because they didn't germinate. So we'll see over time if those do anything. Otherwise I'll put zinnias because I have plenty of seed. But my cabbages are looking great. And then over here I've got some broccoli that's really starting to look pretty good. Try not to slip in the puddle. I slipped on this plastic a couple years ago and just about broke my ankle. This black plastic gets very slippery when there's mud on it. But I want to show you, this cabbage is the best looking one I have. And it's looking so good. So I still have all of this area to weed and plant. Over here will be my second succession of green beans. Let's go look at that first succession. I told you I had to reseed some of the Roma 2s, which is this row. But all of the dragon tongue bush beans germinated. And some of the Roma 2s germinated on the first go. So those are looking really good. I wanted to just stop and take a minute to just really look at the garden. It's May 15th, and I bet you by June 15th, and maybe I'll put these videos together in the garden tour the week of June 15th, but I bet you it looks significantly different. It's already starting to really grow like crazy. This is the time of year it starts out super, super slow, but then all of a sudden around Memorial Day, it just launches the garden. So we'll have to come back in June and see what it looks like. These are a few of the winter sown jugs that I have not yet planted. And then these are some of my pitiful seedlings. These were the ones I started in the kitchen that I was telling you about, just really didn't do that great. The peppers did better than anything, which is kind of surprising. Peppers can be a little bit finicky, but I've got them protected under this picnic table. That way they get a little bit of the wind, but not a ton. And they do get a little bit of morning sun. Green stalk number 1, full of kale and lettuce and spinach and Swiss chard, is doing really well. I've been coming out here and rotating it about a quarter turn a day, and it seems to really enjoy that. So very soon we will be having kale and spinach in our eggs. And my dill is doing good. My little metal pig has definitely deterred this little monster from laying in my planters. He used this as his bed all winter long, so I should have known better, but I don't want him in there. My lemon mint, I had several little starts of lemon mint in here and only one has survived. But mint is vigorous, so hopefully it will be okay. Of course, I have cilantro. This is my mixed herbs. I have chives, thyme, sweet basil, and rosemary. And it will probably get very crowded in this, but that's okay. And of course I have my little geraniums and spurge and petunias by my hummingbird feeder. Now let's head on over to the west side of the house and I will show you my yellow green stalk and something I planted on the west wall of our house. My peony is doing really good. And my autumn sedum is really starting to take off. I plan to divide this one this fall and put it in a couple of places in the cottage garden. But it is going to be so pretty this year. And I love my little vintage bike here. My hibiscus seems to be struggling a bit. I might have to put in a support for it. I'm not sure. It keeps wanting to like pull out of the planter. But then I've got my baby sun rose down here and it has started to put off some new growth since I planted it. So I'm really excited about that. My peony is doing really good. And my autumn sedum is really starting to take off. I plan to divide this one this fall and put it in a couple of places in the cottage garden. But it is going to be so pretty this year. And I love my little vintage bike here. My hibiscus seems to be struggling a bit. I might have to put in a support for it. I'm not sure. It keeps wanting to like pull out of the planter. But then I've got my baby sun rose down here and it has started to put off some new growth since I planted it. So I'm really excited about that. And one of my favorite additions to the garden this year is this beautiful yellow green stalk. I know I've said it in every video that I've showed this, but that bright yellow color as you pull in the driveway just makes me so happy. But as you can see, my peas are starting to do really well. Now, I've only ever trellised peas, and I didn't buy the trellis that goes with green stalks. I haven't bought one, and I really don't want to. So we'll see. I might have to stick some like bamboo sticks or something in there to support the peas. I don't know. If you have grown peas in your green stalk, let me know what you did or what you should have done. And then we have bunching onions on this layer that I started from seed. They are doing good. And then this is some black-seeded Simpson lettuce. I did a layer of beets. And then I did some Napa cabbage. And everything seems to be doing really well. I plan to fertilize everything today. So I plan to fertilize today, and I always call it Fertilizer Friday, because that's how I remember to fertilize like once a week. And I use organic fertilizers. Some of them I make myself, some of them I buy. But it doesn't mean I always fertilize on Friday. It really depends on the weather. But since I've got everything planted in, it's finally established, the seedlings are coming up, they look good and healthy, I'm ready to give a small dose of fertilizer. It'll be the first time of the year that I fertilize, but that will happen this evening. And I will try to do it about once a week as needed. If I don't think it needs it, I'm not going to, but that's kind of what I try to shoot for, is about once a week fertilizing. And so I just say Fertilizer Friday, and it helps me remember. So that's going to be it for today's garden tour. Thank you so much for watching. I have worked so hard in the garden this year, and I love how everything is starting to look. I cannot wait to see it in another month. But I'll continue to bring you along every week and show you what's growing in my garden. I wish you all the very best growing season for those of you who are growing, for those of you who are living vicariously through people like me who share our gardens online. I am so happy to have you here. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.